So anyway, let's get straight into it after we've had that 20-minute video preceding this. This is episode 1129. You know where we are, and you know where we're going. 3, 2, 1. Yep. I don't care about your goddamn order. She's out of here. She's gonna kill this son bitch. I mean, she ain't going to, but like she wants to. I like it. All these OG guys have scars, right? They've been in other fights. I like that shit. You're gonna get wrecked if you don't. They already showed us this part. Refrain from seeing his holy vengeance. What are you looking at, man? He just said don't. Quit looking. Somebody's getting messed up over there, man. You're gonna get petrified, man, or turn to salt or whatever. That's right. Keep stabbing him. What do you think she's trying to do? Trying to kill this son bitch. Yeah, she dares. Nobody cares. We don't care if you're sucking celestial. You know what? I don't usually refrain, but like we're in the middle of a tense situation here. Too late. He's about to body her. Silence insects. Why do you want to be stabbed? Is he trying to show off? Ah, shit. These some big dudes, man. Yep, get wrecked. He can just look at you and send your ass to the ground. That is not good. Now Frankie's pissed. Silence, insects. He's showing off. He's showing off. That's why he let her stab him. That's who you ought to be worried about. Yeah. You better stop the hell up. So, you want us to saunter? Maybe leisurely walk over there? He got his ass wrecked. And not in a fun way. Luffy clapped him up. Of course, he's old, so that's not good. He's gonna kill him. Yeah, that's right. Give him that strong right. Yeah. He bounced Luffy away. I thought he was blocking it. Well, obviously, asshole. Yeah. It's time to go, man. Oh, he likes that shit. He's old as hell. I like this guy's voice. It's got a nice quality to it. Where are we fools? Hey man, I'm tired of being your lapdog. Sanji first. Then Lamb. Kill Sanji first, then Lamb. Then I start having a preference. I guess Bonnie next. Obviously, Frankie would follow that, and then Luffy last. You can act like he's not a human. Even if you're not now, you were a human, asshole. Somebody here needs to die, or he's gonna look like a bitch. So I think Bonnie's about to die. Like his power is something else, man. Like you can't even move around this son bitch. Yeah, look at it trying to break down the logic of it. He's got an answer for everything, don't he? This is interesting. Buccaneer people, huh? Interesting. That's relevant to our interests. Yep. And inspiration. I will dance for you. Unlike Joss Whedon, this show has a lot of good examples of fathers. There's some bad examples of fathers and good ones. There's a good mix. Joss Whedon, all the fathers suck. All of them. Why would they shoot? Just squeeze her. Like, why does everybody all of a sudden want to shoot at her head? Oh, everybody aim for her head. He's holding her in his hand. Just kill her. Unless there's a reason he can't, right? That's interesting. We're going into flashbacks? Really? I'm sure it'll be important, but I'm just kind of surprised at the structure. I guess what the hell else are we going to do, right? They're all screwed, so it doesn't matter if we wait. He's definitely snitching. He looks like Vegapunk's dad. So, I hate to bring up the logistics of sex, but how did that work between these two? This man is massive. Look at him. He could pick her up in one hand. How did that work? I wonder that Hagrid's dad was a regular human and the mom was a giant. How the hell did that work, right? I was actually going to say that. I like how they do this. This is cool. She's so cute. So, I was going to mention that earlier when we saw how big the Saturn is, right? It's one of the things I don't like about the show. All these radically different sized human beings. I don't think it would work. This society couldn't function if there are this many different sizes. There wouldn't be enough food. Houses would have to be all these random sizes. It'd affect everything. Ships. I don't think it works. It would be a nightmare of world building to figure out how the hell this would work. So, we can talk about it some other time. I've never liked this. One thing I don't like about the show. You got people, 80 feet tall, and then 6 feet tall. I don't think that works. God damn, man, that's not very nice. Damn. He's Kuma's 4, right? Buccaneer blood. That's very interesting. I would make a joke about how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers suck, but they've actually won a Super Bowl. You know, it was a mercenary Super Bowl, but unfortunately, it still counts. So, can't really do those New York Jets jokes with them. The mom's already the same size as a kid, right? They hold a grudge for 800 years about this blood, man. The Buccaneer blood. You talk about the strength of a parent, man. She's showing a brave face to her kid, knowing that they're all going into slavery. This happened in real life too. The slaves' families would be separated just willy nilly on a whim, right? Some tragic shit. God damn, man. There's no mercy there, man. Saying you're sorry ain't gonna make any difference. Jesus. They always got that gun in their hand, too. Little bitch. You've noticed that Celestials seem to always have that gun with them. The way they lie to each other out of love is crazy, man. Like the mom lied to him. She's doing great. I just saw her yesterday. Come on, man. Lie to this sumbitch. Why would you tell him the truth? He'll never find out. He would never find out, man. Just don't break the kid's spirit. Look at his back, like the shirt's torn from all the whipping. Jesus. No wonder Kuma hated these sumbitches, man. Gee, you wonder why he turned his back on the Navy, right? And the government, right? Yep. Well, he didn't come in time for Kuma, but maybe for Kuma's daughter, right? Yep, here we are. You see the evolution of the scars on his face, right? Now he's lost an eye. He's laughing at you while he kicks your ass. That's what he did for his own kid. There's the drums of liberation. They'll kill you for this. Yep, they will kill you for that. You don't be doing that shit. Gee, I wonder why he hates the government. They put this sumbitch in a position of power as a warlord, right? And entrusted him. Like eventually he must become a pirate because he went from here to pirate to warlord, right? Oh, great. Let's start a revolution. God damn. Who's this son bitch? St. Garland. That was a false start. I bet since we've never heard of this dude ever, Kuma must kill him. Yeah, very cool. He's big as hell. Man, we didn't see shit. Yeah. This voiceover actor is incredible, man. He's killing me. They turn them on each other. That's part of the game, right? He was such a gentle boy, man. Not a violent bone in his body. He just wanted to chill and hang out. He wasn't ever trying to hurt anybody. Because even now, he's not a violent person. They turn him into that. Not the shitty brat. We always come back to shitty brat, don't we? Who are you really mad at there, buddy? So these guys got a history. So they beat his ass and dragging him back. Then I'll take you with me, Jesus. Oh shit, here we go. Yeah, he really is. The blood of the giants, huh? Were those the Buccaneers? Interesting. He's definitely big enough, but they have giants in this world, so those must be a different kind of giant, right? Yeah. Not particularly, no. I'm cool either way. Interesting. Very interesting. He might have one of the most tragic stories in the entire series because we know how he ends up. Now, they seem to be setting up because they're doing all this with his body coming back. That like restoring the mind to the body, and he can come back as a character, a sentient, self-aware character with his own agency. That would drastically reduce the tragedy of his life, right? But like if things stay as they are, he's one of the most tragic characters. He was a sweet boy, didn't want to be violent. That's one of the worst things the world does. When you're a sweet person, yeah, some people are just born. They're violent. They're assholes. They're just predisposed to that. I believe you can overcome it, but like you're predisposed to violence. That's one thing. Then there are people that are predisposed to peace and nonviolence, and just it never occurs to them to lash out, right? And this sorry ass world will beat the shit out of them until they become violent people. I'm not saying Kuma was out here like smacking fools and executing people left and right, but he was definitely a violent dude. He didn't start out that way. So like it's a massive tragedy that he started out as such a sweet boy, and then he lost his parents in the way he did, and then everything else, and then ends up being a brain dead slave. Jesus, it's just that's a brutal character arc. The other interesting thing, this whole thing about the Buccaneers, I could be wrong. We were just talking about this in a previous video about how sometimes you forget things, but I don't think it's ever been mentioned before. And I wonder if it's two separate things, like they're saying he has the blood of the giants, which he clearly does because he's a large dude. Is the blood of the giants just a different way of saying a buccaneer? Or is buccaneer a separate thing from the blood of the giants? Because he's clearly got the blood of the giants because he's a big dude. But we've seen giants. And it's not like the world government has gone around exterminating all giants, right? Or enslaving all giants. There's an entire ass island filled with giants that they kind of don't really mess with for the most part that we've seen. And it's not like it's on site whenever they run across giants. They even use some giants. They trick some giants into helping them. So I think the Buccaneer thing is something different, or it's a specific breed of giant that happened to be the people who pissed them off 800 years ago. The picture is slowly coalescing. When Lost was on the air, I think it was between season 5 and 6. The showrunners, they had a podcast, and so they talked about this. They said the show, because they told the show out of chronology. You'd have flashbacks and flash forwards and flash sideways, and information would be revealed. And so they said, imagine a huge table with a puzzle filled with puzzle pieces, right? And there's a massive puzzle. Say the puzzle's 3 feet wide and 3 feet tall, so it's a 3-foot square, massive puzzle. And from the very first episodes, they start filling in pieces. And as each season goes by, more and more of the picture comes into focus because they're filling in more and more pieces, but there's still so many bits and pieces. But they don't just start with like the right corner, the right lower corner, and work up. Like when you're doing a puzzle, you try to do the edges first, right? So unless you're one of those psychos that start in the middle and try to work their way out. Whatever floats your boat, psycho. But when you're actually doing a puzzle, like you start, like I always started in the lower right hand corner, just right handed. Start up and start sideways, and that's the normal way to do a puzzle, and it all kind of generates out from there, radiates out from there, right? They didn't do that when they were doing their puzzle, the Lost TV series. They would fill in pieces all over the place. Okay, let's put this piece here. They would know where everything goes, and so there may be a piece just right here in the middle of the table all by itself, but that's where it goes, right? Eventually, you'll see all the other pieces come up and connect to it. But they're putting in pieces, so that's how they did the story. Most stories, they start in the right-hand corner, and everything radiates out, and then at the end of the series, at 7 seasons, you have the whole picture, right? But with Lost, it was all over the place. Let's put a piece here, let's put a piece here, let's put a piece here, let's put a piece here. This show's like that, right? This show reminds me of that quite a bit. You're telling a chronology story, and they did on Lost too. You tell a chronological story, you start here and you end here, But then there's all this shit that happened before and after that linear story, and adjacent to it, all this information that's out there that we don't know when we start the series, slowly being put in, and eventually you can see the picture. I think we're 2/3 of the way to seeing the picture of the Void Century and what happened and why things are currently the way they are. And this particular story arc has been filling in a ton of pieces on that part of the puzzle. Now, there's other parts of the puzzle, other places, some of them are almost filled in and some of them are almost empty. But specifically, the Void Century and what happened there and why things are currently the way they are and what the government's afraid of, all of that seems to be coming into focus. Like and I had this theory a long time ago, maybe over a year ago, where basically like there was obviously some kind of revolution. What we don't know is like, is this what actually even formed the world government? Because it seems to be, because I think that was when all the families went to the Valley of the Gods or whatever, or not the Valley of the Gods, because that was what they were just talking about. Marriage or whatever, that place. They first settled that place and they first became the Celestials, the 20 families, right? I think that happened 800 years ago, which means that's when the government formed. So it wouldn't be a revolution unless they overthrew whatever the previous government was, and then a new government was formed. But I think that's when the magic started, and I think that they did something. The government, the people who formed either government as it existed and continued to this day, or the government that formed that now continues to this day, did something that's so shameful that the mere knowledge of it would shock the world and destabilize the government. Just people finding out what they did. We don't know what the hell that was. It could be killing a god. I wonder sometimes if this is a real flight of fancy. Like what happened during the Void Century was somebody or some group killed a god. Maybe the Celestials, because they wanted to take over and become gods, right? There was a god ruling this planet. And maybe it's a benevolent God. And there's peace and happiness and love and all this shit. And there was a God ruling this government. And they killed it so that they could have power and take over. And its body, because there's this idea in Seven Deadly Sins that you don't, when a god dies, their body doesn't decay. It's still there forever because it's a god. So, I think it was demons, but like you could use that for gods as well, right? I'm coming up with this flight of fancy idea that maybe they killed a god and dismembered it and scattered its body all over the world. And some of its body becomes some of these weapons that we have. A battleship can be made out of its skull, for instance, or like in little pieces, little pounds of flesh become all the devil fruits. You then consume it, and then you get some of the power of the god. Something like that. Something like, because think about it. Say if we had a benevolent god ruling the world, and you killed it so you could take over power. That is something, that the knowledge of that is so powerful. Everybody would hate you, and they would rise up and destroy you, because we had peace and prosperity on this world. And look at the world. Look at it under your control, right? Because you wanted to call the shots. And you wanted to have a place of privilege, and you wanted to suck all the resources out, and have everything come to you, and live in opulence and luxury. Something like that. Like, that's just one flight of fancy. It could be something entirely different. But, like, something happened that they're ashamed of. The mere mention of it can get you killed. And then, then there's this whole Nika thing, which maybe could be the god. And so Nika comes back in a smaller form, in the form of a human this time. Maybe the will of D is everybody who has a bloodline that descended from the god, possibly, will automatically want to take revenge, spiritual, hereditary, historical revenge against people that killed the god. There's a lot of ways you can go with that, right? It's just one theory. But they did something. And they're ashamed of it, and they don't want anybody to ever find out. And so just doing the drum dance with the drum noise was enough to get that dude killed. And I knew it was going to happen. Of course, they showed the gun, but like the second he started doing it, I was like, well, that's not good. because it's the same sound as when Luffy, came back to life and everything. So, yeah, man, like this is things are the puzzle is coming into place, coming into focus. So that's really cool.